Hello everybody, I'm your host, Alan Smithee. Unlike a lot of YouTubers, I was not flown out to Texas or California to watch the premiere of the Fallout show. But I've got one better than all those assholes. Fuck you, Oxhorn. Fuck you, Juicehead. Dispense with some bullshit pomp and circumstance, and I'll get right to the point. I have a lobotomite on my staff. In fact, he's a friend. And he's here with me to do this review. So here we go. I'm looking forward to this. I am the only person on YouTube with a guest from the actual world and universe that we're going to be reviewing. With that said, Lobotomite, would you mind? Thank you. With all that out of the way, we are ready to begin. Come on over, Lobotomite, take your seat, and I'll press play, and away we will go. So, we just finished it. What did you think of it, Lobotomite? That was triumphant! I haven't seen a finish that hard since my third wedding night. Anyways, I'm assuming this audience would prefer something a little more in-depth. Yeah, I know. But let's do it anyways. So, here we go with an almost blow-by-blow description of the whole first season, one after the other, in complete order. This is going to be fun. It all starts with our main character, Lucy, and right off the bat, I'm uncomfortable. And I'm going to tell you why. It turns out Lucy, she's a cousin fucker. And they reveal this fact on the night of her wedding. By the way, this is her cousin, telling her he loves her, but she shoots him down. We all know what that's like. I've been shot down by many a cousin. Then she finds out the random dude they're marrying her off to is kinda hot. So, really worked out for her, I guess. So what if his manners are a bit strange and everyone from his vault looks a bit haggard and dirty? I mean, you know, so what? But with the benefit of hindsight, their wedding night really was shit. I can relate to that one personally. Then, this really attractive raider named Moldover tells everyone she's taking the Vault Overseer, or she's going to kill a lot more Vault Dwellers. It's his choice, so he surrenders. I can't help but wonder what they did with all that leftover wedding cake. After getting laid by a complete stranger and still having a horrible night, she requests a search party to find her father, but the new temporary overseers tell her fuck right off. I know, how could they all treat their cousins like that? And now we get a look at more proper world building and, well, I guess the new California Republic fell. You don't say. Yeah, folks, it appears California had its ass handed to it. We cut to a new character getting the living shit kicked out of them. Well, it stops before it becomes a full-blown gangbang, at least. This is Maximus, a less than stellar student who it turns out even the teachers kick the shit out of. And then one day the Cassowin arrives. It's the sister ship to the Prydwen. Maximus and his only friend experience shock, awe, and spontaneous erections at a group of Brotherhood of Steel knights arriving. Then Maximus finds out his only friend has been upgraded to a squire. This has left him absolutely alone. I wonder who's gonna stop the gangbang now? The very next day, Maximus wakes up to his best friend screaming, the Brotherhood of Steel blaming him, and then him having to take her place as a squire to a knight. Jesus Christ, it happened just that fast. And then in a scene so darkly lit I could hardly tell what the fuck happened, we are introduced to another character. This is the Ghoul. There's 3 other people and a chicken in that scene, but none of them make it out. Well, the chicken does. We abruptly cut back to Maximus and his new liege, Sir Titus, being shuffled off to their first mission. We then cut back to Lucy wandering the desert like some Hebrew nomad right out of biblical times. All that schlubbing through the desert really tuckered her ass out. Yet again, I can relate. Lucy abruptly wakes up to a dog, and then is shocked to find some weird dude sitting around her campfire silently. And he's offering her sage advice, and he seems to know a lot about her. Lucy is very skeptical. I know what that's like. Every time I woke up out of the blue with some strange old man right next to me, it never really worked out well for me either. We then jump to Maximus. It jumps around a lot, might want to get used to it. Following his knight, and it turns out his knight is kind of a fucking douchebag, an idiot. And there's no nice way of saying this, so I'll just say it. A complete fucking coward. And his shenanigans gets himself damn near killed. Maximus only made it out by sheer luck. And then Maximus scores one lucky shot, barely managing to save his ass. And then this piece of shit in steel armor talks so much shit to Maximus, he literally talked him into just letting him die. And then losing no time, puts on the power armor. Holy shit, right off the fucking bat, I love this guy. So far, my favorite character, swear to God. And with that, Maximus takes his slightly used power armor for a test drive. He intervenes in a fight, and then discovers that the man he just helped save is a chicken fucker. We then cut to Lucy, having made it to a town called Philly. Yes it is. And the sassy old lady who runs the market informs Lucy the local opinion of Vault Dwellers, they're a bunch of backwater cousin fuckers. Feeling a bit dejected, Lucy leaves and runs right into that weird guy from her fire. And then the shopkeeper comes out. And then the ghoul enters the scene. Basically, the ghoul says I'm taking that weird guy with me. This goes over about as well as it does in every single Western film ever made. This is gonna be good. He then decimates the whole fucking town. Not indiscriminately, mind you, but anyone who steps to him, he drops in fucking seconds. It's really impressive. And then Lucy tries to check him, and he must take pity on her because he doesn't kill her or nothing. He just points out it takes a lot more drugs than that. Worded differently, of course. And then Maximus shows up, and the shit really hits the fan. This is what we came to see. Two men in a back alley exchanging blows. While all that's going on outside, they bring in that guy, and I guess his name is Wilzig, and he's all fucked up. He's missing a leg, it's bleeding everywhere. Lucy sees it as like, "Oy vey, Jesus Christ!" My words, not hers. The ghoul is pretty light on his feet and seems to be able to run circles around that power armor. He beats Maximus's ass, but he ends up losing Wilzig and Lucy in the process. It happens more often than you would think. Wilzig tells Lucy he's not going to be able to make it, but she only needs to deliver his head. Later, when he catches up, the ghoul's look says it all for us. Who wouldn't like to get head from some weird random old dude they just met last night? We then jump to Maximus trying to repair his power armor. It's not going well, and in the middle of it the Brotherhood of Steel gets a hold of him. He pretends to be his now dead liege, the Knight Titus. Stumbling over being no good at lying, he tells them his squire died and not him. They say, "No biggie, we'll send you a new one." He proceeds to panic and get his armor repaired as quick as possible, but in the process, a bunch of ruffians decide they're gonna jack his shit. What precedes is 2 rounds of an incredibly fucking vicious fight. A fight he was barely able to finish before the Brotherhood of Steel dropped off his new squire. Barely having enough time to get into the power armor before he shows up. And of course, it's one of those assholes who used to beat the fuck out of him. We've all been there, haven't we? We rejoin Lucy, and she's managed to make it all the way to Hollywood Boulevard. Well, what used to be Hollywood Boulevard. And she hears something in the bushes, and that, whatever it is, sneaks up on her, grabs her bag, absconds with Wilzig's head, and leaves Lucy looking quite pissed and bewildered. And of course, our friend the ghoul shows up, just in time to take her captive. It's been a really bad week for her. You would think a cousin fucking Vault Dweller would be used to everyone wanting them to give up the head. We jump back to Norm, who's being admonished in the middle of a job review. It turns out he's shit at everything he's ever done, but quite frankly, he doesn't give a fuck. Lacks enthusiasm. So they're not exactly sure what to do with him. Try as I might, I just can't relate to Norm. We jump back to Maximus, still pretending to be Knight Titus, forcing his squire to fetch him an apple in what I'm pretty damn sure is an olive tree that's dead. They eventually come across Wilzig's remains, and they're speechless. Everybody loves getting head. Back to the ghoul, who seems to be fashioning Lucy into some sort of crude lure to attract the gulper, I'm guessing? A lure that works really well, coincidentally. Lucy panics, and the ghoul loses his shit as his side bag gets bit and eaten by the giant gulping monsters. He turns to scream at Lucy, who in turn screams back at him. And then he gets a gleam in his eye, a wicked gleam. He grabs the rope around her, and him and Lucy are off. We then join Maximus, setting down to let his squire top off his water level, during which he starts to reminisce about his past. Maximus asked him about any hazing rituals he had performed. Thaddeus recounts hazing Maximus as being regretful. We then see Maximus, pretending to be Titus, hanging out with his squire, and they get attacked by the gulper. They get attacked real quickly, and there's a lot of sound and fury, but the truth is, Maximus is in a motherfucking suit of power armor. And he knows how to use it. Pretty damn well. My sixth wife had a similar trick. Maximus retrieved his squire, Lucy's boot, and Wilczek's head. Jubilant at defeating the gulper, they decide to dance. Everybody loves getting head. We cut back to Lucy and the ghoul. Lucy's starting to look like real shit. And the ghoul? Well, he's always looked like shit. Yes it is. Lucy stops for a moment to admire him, and then his face gets blown off. We then cut back to Cooper Howard, who I'm pretty sure is the ghoul. The ghoul has a lot of flashbacks, you might want to get used to it. And then we cut back to the future. We see Lucy and the ghoul rummaging through an old medical office. They run into another ghoul who knows our ghoul from before. He seems to be on the verge of going feral. The ghoul asks him if he remembers his mother's cooking. And when he says yes I do, our ghoul blows his fucking head off. Lucy's at a loss for words. And I gotta say, looking hotter and hotter, the more disheveled and dirty she gets. The ghoul goes to eat his former friend, and then has a thought. Why am I doing all the work? Ass jerky don't make itself. We then jump to them walking around a lot more. The ghoul's basically out of water, and Lucy's so desperate, she drinks something that she describes as probably animal pee, and it's definitely irradiated. The ghoul says he sees her coming around. Well, that's basically what he says. It's almost a touching moment, and then he falls over and gets all woozy, and Lucy takes the moment of opportunity and runs. Problem is, he lassos her pretty goddamn quickly. A tussle ensues, and Lucy bites off one of his fingers. He's so pissed, in retaliation, he cuts off one of her fingers and says, "This is the closest thing we've had to an equal exchange." And then he walks her to some weird super duper mart, where he's gonna sell her for some drugs. But they want to inspect the merchandise first. Lucy's disgusted. And I must say, looking pretty damn hot. The ghoul's looking even fucking worse, if that's really possible. He then faints. Lucy is then shocked to see a Mr. Handy. She acts like she's never seen one before. She tells him all of her woes, and he stitches on a new finger to her hand. Well, new to her at least. She tells the Mr. Handy how she was sure she was going to be sold as a sex slave. He tells her what a terrible thought, and then assures her he's only here to harvest her organs. She can't even finish asking him what. She gets hit with a tranq dart and passes out. We then jump to Norm at his new job, delivering food to the detained raiders. One of the raiders asks, "What you looking at?" Norm says something dismissive, but the raider said something that intrigued him. He does some hacking, but it basically gets him nowhere. So he convinces his cousin to help him break into Vault 32. They see dead bodies everywhere, like something out of a Korn song. Most of them by suicides. Really grisly ones. Toasters were involved. Back to Lucy, we see her being wheeled through the Super Duper Mart hospital. She sees all sorts of refrigerators being used as detainment cages for different ghouls. Some of them really fucking hot. The Mr. Handy wheels her into a side room and then prepares to harvest her organs. But Lucy's lucky. Escapes and manages to electrocute the Mr. Handy with a defibrillation pad, handing him his own ass, metaphorically speaking, of course. He got knocked the fuck out. Lucy gets creative with some Abraxo cleaner and the Mr. Handy's dart gun. She gets the drop on the shopkeepers, who are either the biggest stoners ever or the biggest fucking idiots ever. It's hard to say which is which. She orders them to set loose the ghouls, or else she'll kill them with the Abraxo darts. They relent. She looks back to watch the ghouls getting released, some of which are quite attractive, like I said earlier. She's got blue skin and white eyes. My heart's not made of stone. Lucy sees 4 more ghouls remain. She demands them to be released. They protest. She threatens. They relent. Those remaining few ghouls, turns out they're feral and they instantly attack the idiot's possible stoners. Lucy gets out of the way of that, but there's a lovable old lady one who's clearly in the middle of losing her shit. Lucy desperately tries to reason with her, but it's just not going well, and she has to drop her. At least that hot one got away. Then in a jarring cut, we jump to Norm and the cousin fucker who scored with Lucy. Inspecting deeper into the vault, it just gets more grisly and more grisly the further they go. And all the bodies are old, so this happened a long time ago. No way those raiders did this. And then we jump to the ghoul, obviously. And Lucy's there. She says to him in a nutshell, "While you're a piece of shit, I could never be like you." Well, I guess she's just a good person. She hands him a handful of the drugs he's been searching for and says, "Golden rule, motherfucker. Treat others how you want to be treated." "You're from a vault?" After a while, he stumbles his way into the Super Duper Mart, finds some alcohol, and a whole lot more drugs. While starting out what he calls a private party, he finds what we would call a TV VCR combo, and with it, one of his old films. He pops it in as he sets down to reminisce. I know exactly what that's like. With that, we jump to Maximus, still pretending to be Knight Titus, and him and his squire seem to be getting along incredibly well. They're laughing and telling jokes, and that's when Maximus decides to do something stupid. As soon as he exposed himself, all the goodwill in the room just evaporated right off. Yet again, I know exactly what that's like. And then his squire threatens to expose him. When Maximus has to do some dirt, he does some dirt. He stomps on his former squire's foot, basically exploding it, but his former squire knows exactly how to fuck up a guy in power armor, by unlocking it and pulling out the power supply, trapping him inside. Even though that doesn't work in the video games, it sure fucks Titus over pretty well here. It is funny as fuck though. Not so much for Titus, but for us, the audience. And then come the rad roaches. They crawl all over him while he's pretty much praying to God. And then Lucy shows up, saves the day, opens the power armor, and lets him out. And in return, he gives her some very much needed rat-away. And then Lucy suggests they have a team-up. Her entire vault and the entirety of the Brotherhood of Steel. Maximus agrees, but neglects to mention that he has fuck all sway with the power structure of the Brotherhood. And then we're back to Vault 33, in the middle of electing a new overseer. The crowd banter back and forth about who they're going to vote for. At that same time, we find Norm hard at work doing some hacking, trying his damnedest to solve the mystery of why they always elect someone from Vault 31. And now back to Lucy and Maximus, having come across 2 other travelers along the road. Everyone's apprehensive, but Lucy, always chipper, suggests everyone just hold their hands up as they all walk past each other. It seems like it's gonna work, till they pull weapons and shoot Maximus in the arm, leaving him no choice but to blast both of them pretty goddamn quickly. Lucy asks about Maximus's wound. He says it's just a scratch, and then they both head off. Maximus shows Lucy around, tells her he was from this place, and even that he was there the day it got bombed. I can't believe it! This is great! I know, I'm loving this show too. There's so much here to be a fan of. Why are you cheering the bombing? Maximus goes on, waxing poetic about how everyone wants to save the world, just they can't all agree on how to go about it. Which is absolute bullshit. Realizing his wound to be more than a scratch, Lucy insisted on getting medical supplies for it. After a seemingly inordinate amount of time, Maximus followed her in, and the lights are doing this weird surging thing which leads to a door that he decides to go in. And it was a trap. Now back to Vault 33 with Betty, the recently declared overseer of the Vault, leading a group of pre-selected people to repopulate Vault 32. Norm and the cousin who fucked Lucy are in shocked amazement. The place is clean. Spotless even. You could never tell that just hours earlier, wall-to-wall suicides. Overseer Betty asks Norm basically, what's up? And let's just say she's less than satisfied with the answer he gives. Lucy wakes up Maximus. They're both a little panicked to come to in such a bizarre location, but Lucy says we're in the best place on Earth. In a vault. Speaking to one of this vault's 2 overseers, Lucy is told that they could stay as long as they need. Maximus, being apprehensive as normal, says we're good. The doctors tell him they fished a rotting human tooth out of his arm, and that he's not good. Knowing they're not going anywhere for a while, they decide to have some conversation. Lucy asks if he wants to have sex. He asks, you mean, use my cock? That weird thing might happen where it gets rock hard and explodes everywhere. Amused, she says that's sex. That basically happens every time. Later, without answering what happened, it jumps to them in a cafeteria eating. Lucy comments on how this vault looks a little weirder than she's used to. A lot weirder than she's used to. That look says it all. She does not trust this vault. He seems unconvinced. He says, so what? Lots of people have one eye. Lucy, in an attempt to dissuade her fears, goes and talks to the overseer. This did not help her one bit. Lucy finds him brash, pompous, and kinda moronic, which is understandable, truth be told. On the other hand, Maximus is having a very pleasant vault tour. He's even given his own room in the vault, and his own Pip-Boy, and a welcoming gift basket. The first gift basket he's ever received. Hell, he'd never even heard of a gift basket before today. He starts to look around, and it doesn't take long for him to be amazed. And it doesn't take long at all for him to really start to enjoy the place. And I do mean, enjoy the place. We cut back to Lucy on her self-guided tour, and I gotta say, for not having much of an ass, they do give her a lot of ass shots. I'm just saying. She walks around a classroom, looks at the chalkboards. Oh, there's another one. See, I told you she gets a lot of those. We're treated to a diegetic exposition dump, and then it mentions the bomb. Why do you hate them so much? She looks really grim. We jump to the ghoul, having been captured by a group of men referring to themselves as agents of the government. No, just country assholes with lofty ideals. One of them's even dumb enough to flex nuts on the ghoul. Can you believe this shit? The ghoul just asks for a needle and thread to stitch his finger back on, then proceeds to shit-talk the only idiot dumb enough to take the bait. Well, we all seen that one coming. That's when the ghoul notices a poster of Moldaver. But the weird thing is, he hasn't seen her yet. We jump back to Lucy at the gathering of the remnants of the NCR, and she's like, well, this is weird, but it's not that weird. And then everyone gets naked, and there's this really hot, chubby white girl. I mean, whoa, god damn. Then they all start rubbing human bone ash on their heads, and the overseer tells them fire is the life, and then Lucy notices the giant painting of Moldover hanging over them. She then goes to Maximus, but he's skeptical as shit. He's already gotten very comfortable with Vault life and says, besides, I don't mind chubby topless shikses. Lucy says, I'll prove it, and I'm not going to leave without you. Maximus's reaction is, well, understandable. Lucy, doing some amateur sleuthing, finds evidence of the Vault's previous experiments. Human-fish hybrids, and it's terrifying. And apparently, the Vault is full of them. Then she finds a bunch of fish-people hybrids in these sort of stasis tubes. And then someone comes in and she panics, so she tries to hide but gets discovered and captured pretty quickly. We then jump to a scavenger family getting an unwelcome visit from the ghoul. He informed them that he shot a loved one of theirs, and he just needs the info on where that loved one would gather with Moldover, and then he'll leave. It doesn't end well for them, even though he did get what he needed. Back to Lucy, in a holding cell being questioned. It turns out Lucy doesn't know that vaults have experiments. She's under the delusion that her vault had no experiments. The first overseer explains that she was wrong, and then tearfully explains what their vault's experiment was: genetic experimentation. Even goes so far as to explain the giant gulper that attacked her was his uncle. Well, at one point. And that now that they've explained why, her punishment was going to start. And then Maximus notices her get dragged past his window, that being the only thing that could have ever dragged him away from that popcorn. Then we jump to Thaddeus, still limping his way across the wasteland. And then we jump back to Lucy, who gets a sack yanked off of her head and realizes she's in the middle of a podium. And there's a very big knife. They cut her loose, give her about 2 weeks' worth of rations, and tell her she's on her own. She then humbly begs that Maximus be allowed to stay, because he's never experienced the good life. And then, as if on cue, he shows up and starts handing Vault Dwellers their ass. We find Thaddeus wondering how he's going to make it across the wasteland with his fucked up foot. So he decides to stash the dog in an old Nuka-Cola machine and call it a day. Back to Lucy. My god, I'm going to get whiplash. They jump around so much. Anyways, we jump cut to Lucy explaining what happened to Maximus, and then it smash cuts to them being thrown out of the vault. Lucy tells him he has to return the looted power armor cell, and that they'll need it more than they do, which makes absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever. They return the power cell battery thingy and espouse a bunch of platitudes about being good people. It amounts to a lot of nothing, really. We see the chicken fucker again, ineptly trying to end himself, till something captures his attention. It's Thaddeus, hoveling his ass across the wasteland. The doctor takes him to his makeshift hospital, asks to see his foot, and then tells him he has a cure. One that tastes like shit, but has absolutely amazing results. Jumping then to the ghoul, finding the dog in the old freezer and setting him loose. We jump to Thaddeus, having found his way to a radio station where he's able to call the Brotherhood of Steel for backup. But at the moment he has bigger fish to fry, and after missing every single shot in the clip, he backs up just a little too much and ends up getting a crossbow bolt to the neck. He pulls it out and he wonders, how am I not dead? To which Maximus responds, I think you're a ghoul. Thaddeus says, oh shit, the Brotherhood's gonna kill me. Maximus says, give me the head, I'll distract them. Then Maximus picks up another head off the ground and proceeds to beat its face in. Then he hands Wilzig to Lucy, and they kiss. And as they kiss, the heads kiss. It's a whole lot of kissing. I find this scene touching and a little bit erotic. Okay, a lot. And Maximus is very, very happy. Jumping back to Vault 33, and it's clearly move the fuck out day. And while most are apprehensive, Overseer Betty delivers a moving speech with uplifting topics. Norm is completely unconvinced, and with the help of Overseer Betty's terminal, is able to bullshit his way into Vault 31. We jump to Maximus, heading towards the Cassoin, and my god is he worried. I'm on the edge of my seat! He's more herded to the center of the ship than he is led. The Elder pretty much accuses him of killing his designated knight, and when they test the head and realize it doesn't have the artifact, they decide to execute him. Oh my god, is this the end of Maximus? They're gonna kill off my favorite character. It's like Game of Thrones all over again. Then at the last second, his best friend speaks up, admits that it was her who fucked up her own foot, and that they should trust Maximus. Oddly enough, the elders say no harm, no foul. My god, he's lucky. We then skip to Lucy as she finally catches up to her father, his kidnapper Moldover, and a feral ghoul that's been tied to a chair. Lucy is clearly disturbed, having never seen anything like this. I hadn't either till I was on my honeymoon with my 7th wife. I'll explain later. The ghoul is feisty, but surprisingly not noisy, just like my 7th wife. Moldover inspects the blue chip from Wilzig's head, and offers to tell Lucy the reason why she kidnapped her father, and he begs her not to listen. We jump back to Norm, who seems to have found a very small robot trapped behind some fallen brooms. He sets it loose, and it instantly tries to inject him with something because he's not Betty. And now a ghoul's pre-war flashback to being led into his wife's office to wait for her by a pre-war overseer Betty. As good a time as any to pop in his earpiece and do some old-fashioned eavesdropping. We join a roundtable discussion of luminaries from the pre-war era, discussing Volt Tech and if it's even necessary. Some people, like Mr. House, are skeptical that they won't get killed immediately after exiting the Vault, but Mrs. Howard has an answer for every single question. Back to Norm, with his shattering realization that Vault 31 is less of a vault and more of a cryo-tank storage facility for executives from Volt Tech. Executives like his father. Mrs. Howard starts going on about how Volt Tech has over 120 volts ready. See, each one of those lights is one of their volts. And how humanity being left to its own devices has failed, so now it's their turn. She reminds me of my third wife. The brain bot, sounding more and more unhinged by the second, explains to Norm that Volt 32 and Volt 33 are the breeding stock of Volt 31. Back to the flashback, Volt Tech offers everyone their own Volt. Mr. House seems to want nothing to do with it. Right then, Betty brings in a young secretary who simply had to meet Mr. Cooper Howard. And that young secretary? Of course, it's a pre-war Lucy's dad, looking horribly de-aged. Because we know what he used to look like. I've seen Twin Peaks. Sorry about the side tangent. Anyways, Lucy's dad is heartbroken that Moldover is telling her all of this, but you know what? Fuck him. She gets up and puts the microchip, or whatever it is, from Wilczek's head into this crazy contraption behind her. And then she goes on telling Lucy about how her mom got out of the vault, and how she brought Lucy and her brother Norm to meet a very young Moldover and to visit Shady Sands. And that her father went nuts, hunted them down, and then attacked Shady Sands with a nuke. Asking about her mom, Moldover says, "I think you know what happened." That's when Lucy notices the necklace the ghoul is wearing. Her mom's necklace. Holy shit, I didn't see that one coming. She goes on to explain that's why she had to kidnap Lucy's father. He had the code to make the cold fusion device start. Back to Norm, understandably trying to get the fuck out of the vault, and heartbreakingly being told that he's not going to be allowed to leave. And his two real only choices are to slowly die or to crawl inside his dad's cryo tank and sleep it off for about 200 years or however long. Lucy yells at her father to give Moldover the code. And he does. And as she types it in, she hears something. Vertibirds heading towards them. And the Brotherhood is coming in hot. Everybody rolls their initiative and combat ensues. And that combat is crazy. It's a full-blown shitfest. We join a group of Brotherhood Knights inside and they're fucked. He tells no one in particular that back in the old days he used to run a piece of power armor and that it used to have a critical flaw in the armor. He wonders if they ever fixed that. They did not. Back to Lucy, who seems to be having some sort of emotional breakdown over who her father really is. Right then, a headless suit of power armor crashes in, followed by Maximus, who sets her father loose. Lucy tries to explain to Maximus what her father had done, but her father laid Maximus out after putting on the power armor. Lucy pulls a gun on him, and he says, "You're not gonna shoot me." Then the ghoul chimes in with, "Maybe not, but I will," and he shoots him in the face. Right then, Lucy's dad nopes the fuck out and flies off in the power armor. Lucy asks why he did that. His answer? It's easier to track a stuck pig than it is to ask him where he's headed. He waxes poetic for about a minute and then asks if she's coming along. And then we hear a gun cock. And then Lucy fires, releasing her mother from her suffering. And then she leaves with the ghoul. Maximus comes to a few minutes later, the cold fusion device whirring loudly, getting to his feet to join Moldover, who's now bleeding to death from getting shot at some point, just in time to see a beautiful sight, the likes of which he may never see again. She asks him what his friends are gonna do now that they have unlimited power. Maximus just stands there. the Brotherhood arrives. We get one last butt shot of Lucy walking away with the ghoul, and one of her father heading to a very fucked up but still standing New Vegas. Alright, you get some rest, and I'll see you first thing in the morning, okay? Good night, Lobotomite. I wonder what my third wife is up to.